Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone. Authorities in Jackson County, Oregon say that an elderly woman is facing multiple charges this week after police attempted to pull her over for a simple traffic stop, but she instead led them on a dramatic chase. According to reports, the incident began shortly before midnight on November 4th, when officers from the Josephine County Sheriff's Department spotted a vehicle driving dangerously fast on the I-5 South near the town of Merlin. The driver, later identified as 75-year-old Elizabeth Catherine Essex, was reportedly clocked driving 112 miles per hour. When the officers attempted to pull Essex over, she reportedly ignored them and kept driving, prompting a chase. The pursuit was soon taken over by the Jackson County Sheriff's Department when Essex crossed over the county line. According to police, Essex was quite determined to get away and continued to drive even after spike strips were deployed 7 times, puncturing all of her tires. She was finally forced to come to a stop after about 40 miles when officers conducted a successful pit maneuver on her vehicle somewhere near the city of Ashland. Essex was not injured and was taken into custody immediately afterwards. Following her arrest, police say that Essex bizarrely fought with them over how fast that she had been driving, saying that she had been going 104 miles an hour rather than 112. She also reportedly claimed that she had fled from police because, quote, she did not want to get arrested because she did not trust law enforcement. The 75-year-old is now facing multiple charges, including attempting to elude police in a vehicle and reckless driving. Authorities in San Bernardino County, California say that a wanted murder suspect is finally in custody this week after he was allegedly caught by chance during a brazen robbery at a grocery store. According to reports, the incident began sometime late on the night of November 7th when a police officer in the city of Laverne saw something suspicious while out on patrol. It was a man who appeared to be running from a Vaughn's grocery store with a shopping cart full of Tide laundry detergent. The officer quickly caught up with the man, who was also being chased by the store's manager. The manager confirmed that the more than 20 large bottles of detergent had been stolen from the store. However, the officer soon learned that that wasn't all. When he ran the suspect's information, he learned that the man also had a $2 million warrant out for his arrest for a murder case in San Bernardino County. While the suspect's name has not been released at the time of this recording, according to local news reports, he is one of 3 people charged in connection with the November 29 shooting of 16-year-old Ulysses Solis and his brother, 21-year-old Fabian Solis. Both men were reportedly hit by gunfire during the shooting, though only Ulysses died. The case remained cold until new evidence was discovered just a few months ago, resulting in arrest warrants for the 3 suspects being issued in September. 2 of them were arrested last month. However, until now, this week's suspect had remained on the run. According to reports, the alleged detergent thief has now pleaded not guilty to murder and discharging a firearm causing great bodily injury. He is currently being held at West Valley Detention Center in Rancho Cucamonga in lieu of $1 million bail. Authorities in Monroe County, Tennessee say that they have tragically recovered the remains of a young mother of 2 this week, a little over a week after she was last seen alive. According to reports, 24-year-old Chelsea Autumn Walker was reported missing on October 31st after repeated text messages and calls from her mother went unanswered. A search effort quickly turned up her abandoned car, which had been left in the parking lot of a Walmart store in Madisonville, where Chelsea worked as an online grocery pickup worker. While police initially reported that this was where the 24-year-old had last been seen alive, that apparently changed when they started combing through the store's surveillance footage. Investigators say that they were able to find video of Chelsea getting into a vehicle with a man on October 29th, following the end of her last shift. When interviewed, that man reportedly told police that after picking Chelsea up, the The two of them had traveled to another man's home in the town of Tellico Plains, about a 20-minute drive south from the Walmart store. Sadly, on November 6th, investigators released another update stating that they had found Chelsea's remains in a remote part of Monroe County. They also announced that 2 people were now in custody and that charges would be forthcoming. Unfortunately, at the current time, almost no additional information has been released about the case. This includes Chelsea's cause of death or under what circumstances she might have died. While the names of the 2 suspects have not been officially released, some local reports have identified them as Andrew Young and Hayden Millsaps. According to these sources, Millsaps was the one who picked Chelsea up from the Walmart store where she worked on October 29th, and Young is the owner of the home where they went in Tellico Plains. Following a search of Young's house, police reportedly charged him with multiple drug offenses and for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. He was also charged with fraud after authorities uncovered evidence of him allegedly using Chelsea's debit card at a gas station near his house on the day of her disappearance. Millsap was reportedly arrested after having his bond revoked in an unrelated case. However, at the time of this recording, neither man has so far been charged with anything related to Chelsea's death. The situation is still developing. Authorities in Flagler County, Florida say that a 19-year-old college student is facing numerous charges this week after he allegedly murdered one family member, attempted to kill another, and also attacked several police officers. According to reports, the incident began at approximately 2:56 a.m. on November 9th, when police received a 911 call from a woman in the city of Palm Coast. She explained that a man, later identified as 48-year-old Clint Ingram, had shown up at the door claiming that he had just been the victim of a brutal attack at the hands of his 19-year-old son Luke. Even more disturbingly, he claimed that he wasn't the only victim. When police responded to the scene, they reportedly found the 19-year-old inside the Ingram family residence wearing just a pair of shorts. Nearby was his 85-year-old grandfather, Darwin, who had been the victim of a savage attack with a blunt object. Officers allegedly gave Luke instructions so that he could be safely placed under arrest. However, he refused and tried to struggle with police. He was reportedly tasered 3 times before officers were finally able to restrain him. Sadly, Darwin Ingram was pronounced dead at the scene. According to authorities, the terrifying situation continued once Luke was in custody. During an interview while they were trying to obtain more information from the teenager about what had happened, he was allegedly able to move his handcuffed arms underneath his legs and to the front of his body, after which he attacked several detectives and officers who were present. Once again, police say that the 19-year-old needed to be tasered multiple times before he could be properly restrained. After this, he was sent for a medical evaluation before being taken to a local jail. Following this, Clint Ingram was reportedly able to fill in several missing details for police. According to the father, his son Luke suffers from schizophrenia, and he had convinced him to come to his home the previous day after he started to act strangely while he was away at college in Georgia. Clint stated that Luke's unsettling behavior had continued once he had arrived at the Palm Coast residence, and that during dinner, the teenager had been quiet and had simply stared at them while they were eating. It had concerned Clint enough that he had locked his bedroom door that night before going to sleep. Sometime later, Clint claimed that he awoke to chilling noises which sounded like a combination of growling and screaming. He ran to see what was happening, to find that Luke had attacked his grandfather in the living room. When he tried to call for help, the teenager reportedly turned his attention to Clint. He said that they struggled and that Luke nearly choked him to the point of unconsciousness before he managed to escape and run to a neighbor's house to alert police. According to reports, Luke Ingram is now facing multiple charges, including second-degree murder, battery by strangulation, resisting arrest with violence, and aggravated battery on a law enforcement officer. The situation is still under investigation. Representatives from California's Simi Valley Police Department have released a tragic update in the case of a missing mother of two this week, saying they have discovered her remains and have now made an arrest in connection with her death. According to reports, the case began sometime on the night of November 10th, when 25-year-old Rachel Castillo was reported missing by her sister Emily. Emily told police that she had last seen her sister that morning, as Rachel and her two young children lived with her in her home. When Emily arrived back at the house that evening, she expected Rachel's children to be gone because they were usually picked up every Thursday morning by their father, Rachel's ex-husband, 25-year-old Zarbab Ali. However, Rachel was working from home that day and she wasn't supposed to be going anywhere. Instead, when Emily got home, she found the house completely empty. All of Rachel's personal belongings, including her cell phone, keys, and car, were still there though. Chillingly, so was a significant amount of blood. While a large search effort was quickly launched for Rachel, sadly, it came to a tragic end on November 13th, when police announced that they had located her remains. They were reportedly found somewhere within the Antelope Valley. That same day, Rachel's ex-husband was arrested in connection with her death at his parents' home in Victorville. At the time of this recording, almost no other information is available about the case, including Rachel's cause of death or the circumstances under which she was found. Authorities have since stated, quote, "Some details cannot be released due to legal and investigative reasons." It's also unclear what evidence investigators uncovered against Zarbab Ali prior to his arrest. Previously, Rachel's family had reportedly stated that they had no reason to believe that he was involved, and that he was cooperating with the investigation. The situation is still developing. Authorities in Bellevue, Washington say that a 17-year-old alleged thief recently got quite the dose of instant karma when he accidentally knocked himself out during the middle of a brazen daylight robbery. While reports about the incident only began to circulate last week, multiple sources claim that it actually took place sometime this past August at a Louis Vuitton store in downtown Bellevue. It allegedly began when the 17-year-old suspect and two female accomplices walked into the high-end retailer and started looking around. Suddenly, the 17-year-old allegedly grabbed a number of designer handbags worth a reported $18,000 and began to sprint for the entrance. Unfortunately for the suspect, he would soon learn a lesson all too familiar to countless species of birds across the planet. Never underestimate the humble plate glass door. Upon running into one of the entrance doors head first, the teen was apparently knocked out cold, giving store security enough time to place him under arrest and recover the stolen merchandise. While the commotion also provided an opening for the 17-year-old's two alleged accomplices to escape without being caught, it seems like police have since at least identified them. All three are said to be members of the same retail theft gang that have allegedly hit this same Louis Vuitton store multiple times before. As for the 17-year-old, though it's safe to say that he was taken into custody following the incident, what happened to him from there is unclear. Because he's a juvenile, his name has not been released, and no other information was provided about possible charges against him. Authorities in Houston County, Georgia are praising a local man's heroic actions this week after he allegedly saved a child during the middle of a violent attack. According to reports, the incident began sometime on November 6th when Kelsey Willis was at a Walmart in the city of Warner Robins. He had stopped at the location for an oil change and was waiting for his car to be finished, when all of a sudden he heard something that caught his attention. It sounded like a screaming child. When Willis walked a little ways into the parking lot to investigate, he saw the child being pulled from a vehicle by an older man. The man proceeded to walk the boy around the side of the store before disappearing out of sight. Though Willis initially thought that the older man might have taken the child to use the bathroom, that all changed when he started hearing the yelling once again. This time, it was much more intense, and it made him worried enough to investigate. By the time he ran around the building, he realized that the sounds were coming from a nearby wooded area. To his horror, after following the noises, Willis came face to face with the older man, who was now in the middle of attacking the boy. The child had allegedly been thrown to the ground and was being viciously strangled. That's when Willis pulled out his gun. According to reports, Willis was able to safely get the boy away from the older man before contacting police. He held the suspect at gunpoint until officers arrived and placed him under arrest. The man has since been identified as 67-year-old Noreen Dubé and is said to be a relative of the boy. While the exact circumstances that led up to the horrific crime remain a mystery, Willis says that he fears the child might have died if Dubé had been allowed to continue the assault. He claims that after being rescued, the boy explained that before the attack, Dubé had threatened that he was going to, quote, beat him and leave him for the animals. The 67-year-old has now been charged with aggravated assault and cruelty towards a child. Authorities in Greenville County, South Carolina say that they have made an arrest in a truly horrific murder case this week after a 21-year-old man allegedly murdered his girlfriend and caused the death of her newborn baby. According to reports, the incident began just after 8:30 p.m. on November 9th, when police received a 911 call about a missing woman. The caller claimed that she could be found at a residence on Sawmill Road, just north of the community of Slater, Marietta. When officers arrived at the scene, they not only found the woman in question, 22-year-old Clarissa Michelle Winchester, they found her newborn baby boy as well. Heartbreakingly, though, both of them were dead. Upon further investigation, authorities reportedly arrested 21-year-old Tyler Wilkins in connection with the case. Wilkins was Clarissa's boyfriend and was also said to be the father of her baby. While the exact circumstances that led up to the killings remain unclear, investigators now claim that Wilkins confined Clarissa inside a relative's home and attacked her. She reportedly died of blunt force trauma to the head and neck. While the baby's cause and manner of death have not been determined, it appears that police have some idea what happened to the boy, as in addition to murder and kidnapping charges, Wilkins is also accused of child neglect. Making matters even more chilling, Wilkins was apparently already facing a slew of other charges prior to this week's tragedy. Those charges reportedly stemmed from a December 2021 incident and include attempted murder and domestic violence, though the circumstances surrounding that case have not been reported. What has been reported, however, is Wilkins' connection to yet another terrifying case, the disappearance of his former girlfriend, Jordan Nebling. Jordan was last seen on October 10th of 2020 when she was 19 years old. Wilkins allegedly admitted to police during questioning that he had picked up the teenager that day after her car broke down and had driven her to his place, but claimed that she left after they got into a fight. Currently, Wilkins is not facing any charges related to Jordan's disappearance, though her family has previously stated that they believe he had at least some involvement. At the time of this recording, it remains to be seen if anything will change in that case in light of the new charges against Wilkins this week. The situation is still developing. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a minute to thank our amazing supporters over on Patreon. As many of you are aware, our situation on YouTube always seems to be a bit uncertain, but our patrons help to ensure that we can continue to make content like this long term without having to worry as much about what surprises might be thrown our way. Plus, patrons also get access to 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. If you'd like to help support the channel directly, head over to patreon.com/crimezone to join. You can also find that link in the description below. As always, thank you so much for watching, and take care.